he would probably be the last person that would be like, oh, they made a coffee table book of me, because it was never really about him.
He would bicycle around town and take pictures of fashionable or stylish people.
No, he lived on top of Carnegie Hall.
But he had a very modest, quiet personal life, and he did not have, I think Austin was saying how he was possibly gay, but he never really came to terms with it. Is this correct?
Well, he worked for the Times. And some other people, I think, mainly for the Times, doing 35 millimeter, pre-digital stuff.
Well, his name is on this coffee table in this CB2 interiors designer catalog here. He reminds me of you.
Yeah, I guess we have everybody has a little bit of that type of Bill Cunningham-ness in them.
Nowadays, artists are very much required to reveal themselves and to make of themselves a spectacle on social media. And I mean, this is sort of like the opposite of Bill Cunningham, sharing your personal life.
Bill Cunningham, he's not going to go on Joe Rogan or Howard Stern or Theo's show and say...
But he's also from a bygone era. He's dead. I wonder if there are people like that still, though, that are artists, and even public artists, but not so flagrantly exhibitionistic like so many of us are.
There's a lot of younger people that are not on social media at all. Then you see like somebody like Gary Hander, who's like, please do not ask me to, I'm not going to do it, using a postcard.
Gary is sort of a bygone era too, although he's also like super modern and contemporary too. I think people don't know about you. And that creates a sort of mystery. I bet they don't even know that you have 3 children from 3 different marriages.
Everybody needs an ex-wife to complain about. And I have 3.
And that's why you...
Oh, the alimony. Oh, you know what? She wants her old TV back after 3 years. And I have to schlep it up the...
And what are you going to watch?
Park Slope Brownstone.
So you've just been holding her...
Who watches TV?
I watch movies. I feel like everyone watches TV. I was just asked yesterday if I watched Succession.
Yeah, is that TV or is that something else? I don't know. TV is like The Love Boat. Or did you watch that last episode of Star Trek Voyager or something? I don't know.
That's another bygone era. Do I draw comics or do I draw...
Yeah, it's like you can't really talk about anything without saying, oh, things have changed and it's terrible.
But at the same time, people love music of that era.
But some of these older stars are making more money than any of the new. It's hard to get.
Yeah, like Kate Bush, for example.
Yeah, everything from Kate Bush to Johnny Cash to the Rolling Stones. I'm not saying that these people aren't amazing, great artists, and Talking Heads to...
They're kind of the best ever, I think.
Yeah. Isn't that Matisse really amazing? It's like, yeah, it is. It's pretty cool.
So people want to stick with what they know.
It's like a new musician from the early 20th century being like, oh, I'm just going to play Mozart, which is good, and I'm just going to play Brahms, which is good, but they're not going to the new Richard Strauss opera with atonal bullshit that he's experimenting with.
It's too confusing.
It's too confusing. Yeah. I remember when I began to hate the Beatles in the when I was in my punk rock phase in the early 80s, and the reason was because I just felt like they just wanted to make money. And then all the kids are like, oh my God, I really love, I want to hold your hand. It's like, well, we've already experienced that.
So, wait, I mean, every artist just wants to make money, but they were more brazen about it?
Yeah, they were like, this is the business. So we're making money. There's nothing wrong with that. we could see what happens when in the charts. We understand the monetization of
The algorithm.
of the algorithm of the Billboard chart and how that directly affects.
So previous musicians were more thinking about just the music, and then.
And no one wanted to buy your sheet music. Like I have this new score coming out, and an opera house was like, what else you got coming on? We saw this, thanks. We're not interested in this. And it's kind of like, that's how you make your money.
But
you need that.
But as a young person, you sensed that the Beatles had this kind of mercenary capitalist approach to what they were doing.
I think it began when like Yoko started putting out like she got John Lennon's estate, and
So
I didn't really know that much about her. I did know a bit about her performance art, but I didn't know very much about. Now I'm like a huge fan of hers. I'm like, well, I guess I would have done the same thing.
I wish I were more interested in money. Like when I'm doing art, like of course I want to make money, but I'm not thinking about it so much. I'm not like, ooh, I'm gonna, like I could make some money from this, but I'm just so much more interested in doing the thing itself. And then like the whole idea of putting it on the market is daunting, and I just give up, even though I could make money.
You know, you have the family and stuff, so there's that consideration.
Yeah, I think if you have a family, you're more motivated to make money too. I think if you're just a healthy person, you're motivated to make money. Well, the problem with capitalism is that like it is like like if everybody is just fulfilling their needs to the fullest extent that they can, then we just end up eating up the whole world and not regenerating it. Like if everybody is healthy and square in the head.
Oh, I'll buy this.
Some of us do though.
Organic tomato instead of this non-organic one, because I feel like more pesticides it should not be in the system. But the one thing that could actually affect is not having children.
Right.
It's like, if you just not have one child, you basically save 1 quadrillion tin cans.
Tony, we're heroes.
No, I feel that way, but there's nothing wrong with having children. People should have children.
Yeah. Do you want to fly first class or do you want to save the environment? I'd be like, fuck the environment.
Well, right, but first class in a instead of taking the train or a camel.
A camel would be interesting. I would take a train for fun.
Would you take a camel from here, from Brooklyn to, let's say, Woodstock, New York?
Sure, if you have one. Why not?
Would that be legal? Can you just do that? Probably, right?
There might be some kind of licensing or something.
I don't know if there's any. Why it's an animal and you're just like, it's like, oh, can you ride on somebody's back for up Route 9? Yeah.
Like alongside the highway? Like
I don't know. I mean, yeah, why not? You can't walk on the highway. Or do you take the bike lane? There's a bike lane that goes up the Hudson River.
Cars have to sort of veer around the camp.
Yeah, I know. Like, well, I guess cars have to veer around moose and badgers.
And what about camel poop? Who's cleaning that up?
Who's gonna clean up my poop?
Yeah, she's basically like, she eats like the carnivore diet, like avocados, red meat, milk, butter. There's still a few hamburgers in the fridge if you want one.
Does she look like a pasty Russian, like Raskolnikov or something? Or
yeah, she looks like she might have murdered somebody. But like, murdered somebody because she had to, like
or
like an evil landlord or something. Not.
Yeah, but he didn't have to murder that landlord. He just justified it. Or did he?
Well, maybe she murdered like a pedophile or something. Like,
okay,
she did some murdering for like.
I like how
good.
We can justify murdering pedos and Hitler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But someday in the future we're gonna have like more
people.
Well, like pedophiles are just, you know, they can't help the way they feel, and like we'll have more compassion.
Like the trend was to kill any meat eater because animals are sentient beings, so it's
It's totally.
This guy ate 40 animals last year, so we got to take him out.
It's okay to punch a fascist, and it's okay to kill a meat eater.
Scares me. It's like, well, what's going to happen now? And that's why older people are like, what are they going to invent now? Like a flying zebra? What is happening?
I would take that flying zebra.
And then generation, it's going to be Generation L because the alphabet's going to start over again.
Oh, yeah.
The Gen L is going to be like, you're so Gen B or whatever.
I don't know. It'll cycle through it again. There'll be slackers like
Like the X.
Yes. Apparently that's like how the yugas work. Have you ever heard of the yugas? There's like different eras.
Because, everybody's always asked me like, oh, so what were the 90s like? And I'm like, I don't know what the 90s were like. The 90s were like me working and having relations with other people. They weren't like a pop culture mishmash that you think. It's like somebody asking somebody about the 60s and they're like, oh yeah, so you went to like Woodstock and stuff. It's like, no, I didn't actually. I was working at Dad's automotive garage for 6 years, and I had a girlfriend who had a miscarriage, and then I was drafted, but I couldn't go serve even though I wanted to. And then my uncle left us some money, and it was like, oh, did you guys know Lou Reed? And I was like, because you live in New York City, like back in the 80s, and then it's just kind of like, no, I did see Lou Reed. I saw him with Julian Schnabel. They were doing some kind of talk, and then I was going to ask him a question, but I didn't, because I don't want to be asking a question to somebody because I think they're cool. And Keith and Laura used to see them on, because they lived on Little West 12th Street. They saw him and Laurie Anderson walking their little dog, their little yappy dog on the street. It's a little neighborhood thing. You know who we should have seen? It was like David Bowie when we were living in Soho, and he was living there with Iman.
But there's a I think it comes down to style a lot. Like, there's a remarkable difference in style between the 90s and the aughts. Like, and then that has to do with, like, technology. And, like, if you watch the movies from the 90s, something shifted when CGI came. Like, suddenly, like, the movies from the 90s and the 80s, like, they look so fake. Like, you're like, how did people tolerate that fakeness? And then, like, in the 2000s, suddenly everything just looks like, not, like, uncanny valley real, almost, like.
Digital filming, which everybody does now. And we sort of got used to that. And it's just, like, what we're doing now. So if I was doing this on 16 millimeter, it just would look, we're just not used to it. It looks grainy. If it's done well, it can look really good, but you're really capturing light.
Okay, there's technology, and then there's style, and then there's just like the timelessness of humanity. And your guy who was working at his dad's store, and he's.
Yeah, I want to say that style. If you look at Dog Day Afternoon, and this is a master filmmaker at the helm there, and then you look at something from the 80s. The 80s fit like 9.5 Weeks with Mickey Rourke or something like that, or even like Risky Business is a good movie. But most 80s movies, they were just like a bit of just sloppiness. A comedy from the 30s, and they're just like so much better than anything. Like the artistry and the art, there were just like bad artists in the 80s. Just terrible. Like everybody's art was just bad.
That seems like it, yeah.
You can say that era's in comics too, maybe. I don't know. Somebody was telling me about like, oh, that looks like very like late 90s alternative comics art with that two-tone stuff that was really popular back then. Or I have nothing to complain about. I have not made a lot of prolific stuff, but it was not because of it was just because of my own laziness. It wasn't because of
You're very hard.
That's what I am hardworking, but I don't really make art. So I'm not really compelled to do it like you guys.
I think of him more as a philosopher than an academic.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you just kind of ran out of ideas too. Sometimes I'm thinking that, oh yeah, I blew my. I don't want to use this term, but blew my firecracker. And I don't have one anymore.
I believe that your firecracker is going to continue until you're dead.
New Vice President Walz said we can sleep when we're dead. And I was just like, that just seems like such a crazy, extreme thing to say.
That's a very punk thing to say.
But he's the vice president. Like, what does he want? Does he want everybody to just keep working, and like exhaust themselves until they like fall asleep at the wheel? You know?
Yeah.
They didn't sleep. Well, now they're dead. Now they can, maybe they should have taken a nap in the back of the station wagon.
Better to burn out than be forgotten.
What about fading? How come nobody's like, you know what? I just want to fade away. You know, I just want to.
No one.
I want to fade into black, but slowly.
You know what?
How come people don't want to do that?
Nobody wants that.
They want their cranium to explode and splatter.
They want spectacle. We want spectacle. I
all
want
over
spectacle.
a painting. But you know what? And then when they do die, it's kind of sort of pathetic. Like, oh, he drowned in his own hot tub on the.
That's the worst thing
about
the
hot tub drownings.
No matter how glorious your life is, you pretty much have to just go in a very degenerate, debased way. Like, you just have to like shit your pants. Like, that's just. So you're like an astronaut in the future.
Yeah, your job. I mean, in the future, half the people's job is astronaut.
Okay.
You know, so I don't know. Ask Elon Musk.
And so you're like you got off course and like you're just hurtling towards the sun.
Right.
This is a very like Icarus way. Like, this is like literally Icarus flight, or is it Daedalus? Daedalus?
Right. I'm just sort of trying to compare it to fading Daedalus, and that's his son. Icarus. Like, oh, Jenna Rollins, I thought she was dead.
Right.
No, she's just kind of slowly
faded away.
And then you had that reaction.
But she wasn't really fading. Like, in her own life, she was just, she was doing the things that people do, you know, going shopping and probably hanging out with her family or having a book club or arguing with her neighbor or whatever she does. Like,
a child in a burning warehouse and died.
I feel like there's one person in the world who's famous for like, no, there is a few, but that's so rare that somebody is remembered for like a brilliant death. The guy who burned himself up in protest of the brutality in Palestine. Or the Vietnam monk who burned himself up in protest of the war. And it is shocking because it is really against everything that
it is. I mean, because what that guy was against was like the little girl who's running down the street as the Americans napalmed her and then burned all her clothes off, and she's completely naked, and her skin is burned, and she's running down the street crying. That's why that guy burned himself, for people like that.
Yeah, which is actually the most logical reaction. Like, that is exactly how anyone should react to such a thing. Like, we should all be burning ourselves up
it's because if you're not, you're completely crazy.
Yeah, well, we are all just a bunch of psychopaths living off of this.
I can live with that. I guess you can live with it.
We really are living with it more than ever now with the social media, and like we see it, and like seeing that plane fall out of the sky a few weeks ago. But like, yeah, well, this is technology. Like, they're all there happening, but now with technology we can see it. And if you see a burned child, that is a thing that you will live with that you will never ever take. Like, that will be in your head forever.
Yeah.
But now you see this shit like on the regular. Like
I don't see that much of it though. I see a lot of cat fails. Much more than I see any kind of violent stuff. I don't really.
But I think that the plane falling.
That's why I agree with you how unusual that was.
Well, yeah, like planes don't usually fall out of the sky, and when they do, they're not usually captured on camera. And the few people that see that happen in real life, that's a pivotal moment for them. They're never gonna forget that. But now it's like captured on film and we all see it. Like it's become just like a normal thing that you would see.
Same with like the planes flying into. When I see it, it doesn't feel real. Like I think, like my brain is like, oh, it's just a movie. It's just like I can't
see it as real. But then when I saw that actual footage of the plane,
Yeah, well, this is before all those deep fakes and stuff. Forget about the UFO stuff that was happening in the 60s and the 50s. Things like,
and part of you wants it to be real too.
Yeah, it's like,
just because, like, we're sick people. We want it to be real, but then we also don't. Maybe there's not enough real violence in our lives that we have to have it expressed as a story. Or maybe we believe that the story of violence will keep the real violence at bay.
we're bloodthirsty by nature.
I don't feel like I am. Do you feel like you're bloodthirsty by nature?
I mean, have you ever yelled at somebody and felt they wanted their head to just pop off?
No, I just want them to feel bad.
Right, and what's the worst you could feel is when your arm has been severed from
No,
your
I just
body.
want them to realize how much they hurt me.
Yeah.
And then I want them to say, oh, I didn't realize I was hurting you. I'm sorry.
Right, and if they're dead or their eyes are gouged out, they probably wouldn't be able to say that.
Yeah, I want them to be alive so that they can give me love. I'd probably be ashamed if I was offered an apology. Like I coerced it out of them.
But, and then you sort of say sorry for what you did.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't want to hear that you're sorry.
No?
No.
The other day you apologized to me, and it was very disarming. Did you feel like I didn't want to hear that apology?
Yeah, I did. I felt like it's not really the apology. It's just that the other person just wants to get their anger out.
Apologizing doesn't work as well as you thought it might.
We don't want you to say you did something wrong and you're sorry. We want you to just be just banished.
Yeah, I think what they might actually be wanting is not an apology, but a change in behavior.